And that there was Mr. Luther Vandross, Power of Love. We definitely got some love in the building today. We got some legends, some musicians, some performers, some entertainers, some dancers. We got it all today. We're talking about Black history of Montreal, musically, entertainment, just the whole city, how it was. Back, like Kenny Hamilton just said, back in the days.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. Good to see you, Kenny.
Pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you, man. Pleasure to have you. So we're talking about the history of Montreal and the music scene, the entertainment scene. And I know you're a guy from the area of Burgundy, is that right?
Well, yes. Yeah, yes, we can say that.
All right, all right. I know your stomping grounds are many places in the city, but I guess your main stomping ground was Little Burgundy, right?
I grew up on a street called Torrance Street.
Torrance Street, all right.
That was one street south of St. Antoine.
Okay.
So, yeah, one street south of St. Antoine. In the mountain in St. Antoine Street area.
All right.
Yeah.
So what was going on back in the days, as you described it? What was different? What was happening? What was going on back then? How did it all start?
I would say, is from grade 2. Let's go back to grade 2.
Okay, let's go back.
How old would I be? 7, 8 years old at that time.
Okay.
On that neighborhood where we lived, at the end of the street, at the end of the block would be Rockhead's Paradise.
Wow, all right.
Across the street from Rockhead's would be the St. Michel Club.
Okay.
Downstairs on the first floor of the St. Michel Club would be Mervin's a Harlem Lounge. There was a lot of community there. There was a lot of action. There was a lot of glamour. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I could stand on the corner. I could see legendary people walking down the street coming to Rockhead's to rehearse in the afternoon.
Wow.
Speedo in the Cadillacs.
Oh, wow.
It was an amazing time.
So just so the people know, what area of time was this roughly? What year was this that you're talking about right now?
Let's say between the 1958 and 68.
Okay, all right.
Let's deal with that. 1958 to 1968.
Okay.
The time was so special because nobody used limousines at that time. It was taxis. There was no security. You could make contact with people. You could touch people. You could talk to them at the bar between shows. I mean, there was no security. There was no limos. There was none of that. You could interact with.
It was tight knit. Everybody knew each other, right?
If you didn't know them, you could get to know them.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
You know, I would be in certain places in the afternoon where I could touch base with people that the opportunity was there.
Wow. And in those days, you were doing many things, I know, but your main gig, I guess to say, what you were singing, right?
Yeah, as semi-professional.
Okay.
Yeah, semi-professional.
All right.
We were doing teenage affairs.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dance halls that catered to teenagers.
High schools.
High schools. Yes.
So you're on that circuit. So when you say we, who are you referring to exactly? Are there any guys in here that you're referring to?
Referring to all of them. This gentleman here, Skipper Dean.
Skipper Dean sitting right next to him. Graham Chambers.
Of course. But we, in the era that we came up in, we came up in the era that everybody that is well known in this town today cut their teeth in.
Wow.
The Michel Paglieros, the Gino Vanellis, the Patsy Gallants, you name anybody that came up through the ranks of entertainment in Montreal, and they would look at us and call us the Godfathers, more or less to speak.
Yeah.
And
That's crazy. That's wow.
We really didn't know the kind of power we had. Like for instance, Don Jordan is here, and he did the Light Young show, the first black performer.
Okay.
And before I let him speak, we'd like to mention that for us growing up, we grew up around Oliver Jones and Sammy Davis Jr., all these people who were coming to Rockheads. And the Harlem Paradise, which was the St. Michel.
The St. Michel, okay.
Yes.
So what exactly was the St. Michel? Was that a place people were able to come to and
St. Michel
be entertained? What was it exactly for those who don't know?
The St. Michel was a cabaret.
Okay.
It was a cabaret that catered to, well, they had a clientele, but they had good floor shows. They had a chorus line. They had a good band.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really speak that much of the Saint Michel because I was too young to really
Gotcha.
involve myself in it.
Gotcha.
But on the first floor, they had a kind of like a bar lounge, and a local friend of ours, or a local guy named Mervyn Dash, who came from a prominent,
Ooh, Mervyn. I know Mervyn through my mother, Brenda Chambers. So
He more or less threw his hat into the ring, and he wanted to open a little establishment there. And he presented the kind of music that I gravitated to, that we gravitated to.
Right.
And he took the Saint Michel, the first floor of the Saint Michel, he put it into a place called the Harlem Paradise.
Okay.
That was a highly, how would I say, inviting place to be.
So where was the Harlem Paradise exactly?
It was on Mountain Street,
Okay.
just south of St. Antoine,
Wow.
between St. Jacques and St. Antoine.
The root, the heart.
Yeah, across from Rockheads.
Across from Rockhead.
Yeah, straight across the street from Rockets, directly.
So Skipper, I had the pleasure of looking at and learning some great history with you there tonight. You showed me a documentary called Burgundy Jazz, a production that was well put together by Catbird Productions.
Yes.
They spoke about all these places. They spoke about yourself. I mean, you're a feature in that documentary as well. So what was your experience coming up in these times and performing, like Kenny said, as a teenager, 4 teenagers, and like you said, not even knowing the power that you had?
Well, really, we didn't know the power we had.
Okay.
We just had fun. And we would go to each other's gigs. If I wasn't working, I'd go to his gig
Okay.
and sing.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
And you had a group back there, right, sir?
I was with the Fascinations.
Mm-hmm.
You were with the Persuaders.
Yes.
And then there was my brother, Dennis, who sang, and Junior Hamilton.
Well, talking in a historical manner, we talking here about things that transpired in those days.
Yeah, for sure.
See, this gentleman, Skipper, his band was comprised of, say, 7 or 8 teenage local boys that wanted to play music, young Jewish boys, young that just wanted to play and liked the music that they were hearing on the radio. But the way they constructed their presentations, this guy was wearing tuxedos, tailor-made. His band was laid out every
As teenagers.
And vice versa.
Right.
When they brought it to the stage, they brought it. I mean, they invested in their appearance. You know, they took pride in what they did on their presentation. It was a mark of an era gone by.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I just want to let any listeners who just tuned in know exactly what we're talking about here and who we're talking with. We're talking about the black history of Montreal musicians. We're sitting down right now with Mr. Kenny Hamilton, legendary singer in the city. We're also sitting with Skipper Dean, great legend. I call him the soul man. We have my uncle, my blood, Mr. Graham Chambers, the most awesome drummer I've seen. And we also have Mr. Don Jordan in the building, and Phil Cole. So we're going to be talking to these guys. We're going to be going through the history of Montreal, entertainment, music, performing, what was then, what is still now, and that's what we're talking about. We're here on 100.1 FM. Skipper Dean, yes.
And Graham was the drummer in my group.
Was he back
These were
then?
our first groups, yeah.
Wow. So maybe Mr. Graham Chambers, come to the mic. Come to the mic and let them know what you experienced as far as being a drummer in Skipper's band, in Skipper's group, from back then. You guys were teens, and you guys were gods. You guys were legends. So what was that for you?
It was pretty amazing. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
It was pretty amazing. I grew up in Côte de Neige, not in Little Burgundy. So,
Okay.
But my contact with what was happening down there was actually through Skipper Dean,
Okay.
where we used to. They were told the
Hang.
story so we used to hang underneath his balcony. He lived on the first floor, and we'd listen to the music coming out of his house.
Wow.
And we knew he was an entertainer, and we were a bit younger. Well,
I wasn't an entertainer then,
no, you were just
like
We
Just
would
play
go to
music.
Skipper's house
Yeah.
after school.
yeah.
3:15, American Bandstand would come on television, and Skipper had cable. So we would assemble at Skipper's house directly after school to watch American Bandstand at his home. Yes, we would.
Truly amazing.
But we would sit under his balcony and listen to the music coming out of his balcony door, and he has a beautiful wife named Penelope.
Yeah, she's also here.
She's here, but we were all in love with her, and we wanted to take her from Skipper, but we were too young. Because, well, how old are you now?
I'll be 69.
And I'm 66, so I guess at that time
You
you
got
were
old.
You're 6 months older. I didn't
So
forget
at that
that.
time, how old were you?
I was about 16.
16, so I was 13, so 16-year-olds don't hang out with 13, you know, the gap. Now we're, you know.
Well,
So that was
I
the
didn't
case.
hang with you guys.
No, he was.
I was
didn't
on my
hang.
balcony playing records.
Yeah, he was on his balcony playing records,
I
and
hung with Kenny.
actually, the Jewish drummer in his band that Kenny
Howard
was talking
Dieter.
about,
Yes.
Howard Dieter, he showed
The
me
late
my first drum
Howard
beat when I was in
Rest
grade
peace,
7.
Howard.
Howard Dieter.
Howard Dieter, he was playing at in grade 7 at the school dance at the end of the year, and at the end of the dance I spoke with him and said I want to play drums, and he showed me how to play a beat, and I started with that beat, and then later I replaced him in the Skipper's band,
Wow.
and
So did you guys know from back then and these times that you're referring to, did you guys know at that time, this is what we want to do?
yeah.
We want to perform, we're just going to play music. Is that what it was?
We didn't know where it was going to end up. We were surrounded by characters. There were so many colorful characters that we grew up around, you know? Like, for instance, when we first got in show business, talking about the wardrobe that we used to take pride in, there was a gentleman by the name of Warren Hayes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Warren Hayes was a guy that hustled material out of the trunk of his car.
What do you mean, like material, the clothing material?
That's exactly right. You be playing at the Esquire.
Right.
Warren Hayes would know exactly when you were coming in town. He'd drive right up to the club with his Cadillac, open the trunk and bring bolts of fabric into the dressing room and show, man, look at this pretty cherry red.
Wow. he was hustling.
Yeah, he was. That's the kind of characters that we knew. Now Warren would let you choose the colors, the fabric. I want that black mohair or that pretty mohair. He would take you directly to the tailors, measure you in the tailors, and have that ready for you within a week to 10 days. And the price of those outfits was under $100, maybe $80 for a tailor-made suit.
Looking sharp as a razor.
$15 for the material, and yeah, $60 to $80.
Yeah.
Wow.
Warren Hayes, we had character. There was a lady that Skipper and I remember well, a lady named, her real name was Adelaine Harris. We referred to her as Miss Addie.
Miss Addie, she's also talked about in that documentary.
Yes.
Jazz. So
Traveling.
speak on that a little bit, Kenny.
Oh, man.
Speak on Miss Addie just a little bit.
Miss Addie. She was a lady that came up here from the United States, whichever way, through her own income. She acquired a 3-story residence or a mansion, a 3-story, yeah. And she would rent out rooms to visiting or traveling entertainers. So of course I rented a room at Miss Addie's, which gave me direct contact with people that would be coming and staying at her place. She was an original
Entrepreneur.
She was an entrepreneur. She surely was.
What kind of people would you see in this place or at these times? Who was walking in there? Who was Skipper D's laughing?
I rented a room in Miss Addie's. He would know the names. Not everybody knows. I would wake up in the morning at 8:30 in the morning and come out of my room and bump into a guy named David Fathead Newman.
Okay.
One of the most prominent members of the Ray Charles band. He played saxophone. I'm serious. Grant Green, the legendary guitar player, who I didn't know that well because he was more known in jazz than he was in what we were doing. But very, very highly respected and regarded people. I mean, we had so much access to. Yeah, yes.
Graham, is there anything that you want to add as we're going down this trip, this memory lane? I see you sitting there just in thought. What's going through your head right now? To still be here with these guys and
Well,
Well, he wasn't there for
I
that.
wasn't there.
Okay.
You know,
But-
I was.
You came after.
Yeah, yeah.
You might want to go to Don Jordan, because when we mentioned American Bandstand, the show he was in was called Like Young, and that was a Canadian version of American Bandstand.
All right, so we're going to talk to Don right now. He's just going to step to the mic real quick. Mr. Jordan,
Yes, sir.
how are you doing?
I'm doing real well.
That's good. It's so good to have you here.
Great to be here.
I know you're a pioneer of many things. The first of a few things. Don Jordan, dancer, entrepreneur, dance choreographer. Don was the first, speaking of some black history of Montreal, he was the first black actor on a TV series called Like Young. So could we talk a little bit about Like Young and those days, or is there something that happened before that got you to that point that you think we should mention, or where do we start with Don Jordan? Where did it all start, Don?
Well, it all started with my parents.
Okay. Okay.
My father was a musician.
Buddy Jordan. One of the baddest that ever walked the planet.
What was it? Repeat his name?
Buddy Jordan,
Buddy
trumpet
Jordan.
player extraordinaire, and one of the colorful characters to which I refer to, by the way, his dad.
Wow.
An original, a true original.
So
Yes,
Don
he
Jordan's
was.
dad. Okay, so it started there. That's the root.
Yeah, so I used to, my father would be playing in all these clubs and things, and would take me with him as a small child, 2, 3, 4 years old, and stick me on stage to dance. And so that I guess I kind of got the bug.
Right. And he took off with it.
Yeah, and at one point in 1965, oh my lord, there was a dance contest, and I happened to enter the dance contest because my mother pushed me to do it.
Okay.
And won the dance contest after a 3-month period, and was instantaneously offered a contract, to which my very first show was in 1965, and they said to me, you have to really watch your P's and Q's because you are now representing your race. I was 15 years old. I really didn't think about representing my race at that point in time, but I just sort of went along with it. Stayed on the show for 6 years. I was lead dancer and met all kinds of incredible people. Became good friends with some folks that will always forever truly be in my heart, people like Stevie Wonder.
So you met him.
Yeah, we actually became good friends for quite a long time.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, one day he called me up and said, I have a new album coming out and it's called Songs in the Key of Life. He said, how do you spell your name? Do you spell your name like Donny Hathaway? Because everybody, family and close friends used to call me Donny, actually still do. So I said, no, I don't spell it the same as Hathaway, I spell it D-O-N-N-I-E. I said, why? He said, well, I can't tell you because if I do that, then I'll spoil the surprise. He said, but the album's coming out shortly, wait for it. A couple of months later, the album arrives at my house, and I look through it, and all the words to the songs were on this booklet that was inside the sleeve.
Okay.
And so I'm looking at all the names, because it says, at one point there was a page that said to my special friends. And so I'm reading all these names, right? And then all of a sudden I see D-O-N-N-I-E.
Wow.
And I went, damn, yeah. Wow, that was really cool.
For sure, for sure. So guys, like I said, all the listeners out there, we're sitting down with some musical legends of the city. We have Kenny Hamilton, Mr. Donnie Jordan, Skipper Dean, you heard from Graham Chambers. We're going to be talking also another legend, Mr. Phil Cole. He's also in the building. And we're waiting for Renee Lee to get here also. So we're going to just pay some bills and we'll be right back and continue some discussions. We'll also hear some music as well. Radio LaSalle, 100.1 FM. You're tuned in to Smitty in the City every Saturday, 4 to 7 p.m. And without further ado, we got some other legends in the building. We have none other than Soul Man himself of Montreal, Mr. Skipper Dean. How you doing, sir?
I'm hanging in there.
All right.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. This is a great day. This is amazing to have you in the studio. Known you for a long time, saw you do your thing for many years, and now you're here.
You've known me from birth.
From birth. So, Skipper, we're going to get into some history today. We're going to be talking about many different things, different journeys that you've been on, that you've been through, and it just feels good to be here with you, man. So we got Skipper Dean. We also have the one and only Don Jordan. How you doing, Don?
Hey Todd, I'm good. How you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Good to see you guys, man. This
Nice
is
to be
amazing.
here.
We're gonna let them know exactly what you guys do and have done, but for those who don't know, you're gonna find out today. We also got Mr. Phil Cole in the building. How you doing, Phil?
I'm good.
Good to see you guys. So this is what's happening. Smitty in the City. We're gonna be taking a journey into the history of Montreal, musically, entertainment, performers, the whole way through. So we'll be right back. We're gonna pay some bills, and we'll be right back with you guys. 100.1 FM, Radio LaSalle. And then Monster. Up next, we're gonna run a song from Kenny Hamilton. This one's called Greatest Love. 100.1 FM, Radio LaSalle.
Didn't have a hit record. We wanted to be around people that did. You know? Yeah, and
For sure,
we
for
wanted
sure.
to live the experience.
Now, speaking about experience, I'm gonna come back to Phil real quick. Phil, you have a lot of experience in a few things, and through talking, I found out that you were a theater professor.
Yes.
Wow. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, prior to being the theater professor, because I've always been involved in education, last year I had a very serious illness for which I, like the phoenix, I've arisen, how do you say that?
Good for you. Good for
I'm
you,
back, and
God
I
is good.
just started a project in January, well last month, where I'm choreographing a musical for the Rosemont High School.
Wow. Good
So I'm
for
going
you.
back to where I initially had beginnings in Montreal, because
There you go.
as I said, I worked in the public school system for like 9 years in all the high schools.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Wow. Great experiences. So you had the privilege also of touching many students, I'm sure.
Yes.
And changing many lives.
Yes.
Do you have a big memory or a highlight in your mind of someone you've helped or someone you know that you've touched and changed their life for the better?
Oh,
Is there one particular person that stands? I know there's many, but
Oh,
is there one thing that stands
There
out?
are so many, but recently we were both honored here in LaSalle, as a matter of fact.
Oh, yourself and Don?
Yes.
Okay.
He did a master class, a reunion class.
Okay.
For students that had been studying with us for over 30 years. And there was one dancer, who's now a professional dancer, who attended that workshop that I found in high school. She was a student at Westmont High School. And I was doing a ballet at that point for the Black Theater Workshop. And I had to personally go to her mother and ask permission if she could be a part of this ballet. She was only at that point in time like 16. And she happened to be at this particular workshop just recently. And so you look back on it, it's like 30 years ago. She said thank you for being the mentor.
Wow.
So
That must have warmed you up.
it did. And at
But
this
we've also had students that have gone on to star on Broadway, in dance companies in Toronto, in the States, in Europe. Folks who have opened up their own dance schools. Really,
That's
a
just
lot
truly
of
amazing,
people.
though, honestly. To see people that you helped and mentored now do what their dreams were, that's truly amazing. I mean, myself working with kids, I know a little bit about how that feels, so keep on doing it, guys. I'm so glad you're still doing your thing, you're still here, pumping strong. We're going to get into some music, but we're going to come back because Kenny is going to get into the nitty-gritty about back in the days, the history, the root of Rockheads, of Harlem Paradise, what was going on really in the scene of Montreal. And I'm sure Skipper's nodding his head in a very positive light. I'm sure he has a lot that he wants to mention too. So
They'll hear me nodding.
there you go. You'll hear him nodding, y'all. So you're tuned in to Smitty in the City. We do this every Saturday 4 to 7. Today we're talking with Montreal legends, talking about the black history of Montreal musicians in the entertainment world. We have Kenny Hamilton, Skipper Dean, Donnie Jordan, Phil Cole, Graham Chambers in the building. So we'll be right back. So we are definitely back in the city. You're tuned in to Smitty in the City. We got some legends here today, y'all. We got Skipper Dean. soul man himself. We got the tent in there, Graham Chambers, the dancer of all time, on the hit show. But back in the days, y'all. Back in the days, like young. This is Donnie Jordan, and we got Mr. Kenny Hamilton as well on the mic. So, Skipper,
Yes.
we mentioned your song, your album actually earlier. You released in 2010. Family Man.
Yes.
What an album. What an album. Gotta say thanks again
Thank
for letting
you.
me perform with you that day at that City launch.
So you did the launch, yeah.
Great experience for me, man. So thank you. So what's been happening since Family Man in Skipper Dean's world?
Absolutely nothing.
Come on, Skip. You're everywhere in the city, man.
Well, I have no plans on doing an album. I record one at the moment.
Is there a reason for that?
Well, that.
Right.
No, I'm not.
Because you're satisfied with-
This took 60 years to do.
Wow. Did you guys hear that? He said it took 60 years.
I've been talking
to do.
about it since.
But you know what? I gotta applaud that, honestly, because
Thank you.
you never gave up. You
Well,
never gave
I-
up. You kept trucking, and you did it. And it was a
Basically,
hit.
because people kept saying, when are you going to record? So I did.
you go.
Well, that's done. You know, and I just wanted an album that I was proud of, and that's it.
So we're gonna actually jump into the album, if you don't mind.
Okay,
I'd like to play the first track of the CD,
okay.
and you can just announce that track if you remember what it is.
It's called Family Man.
Family Man. It's all about family, y'all. So this is Skipper Dean, live on 100.1 FM, Radio LaSalle. This one is Family Man, infamous album. Here we go.
Okay.
Tell me more about this Family Man track that you got going on here, because every time I hear the song, I hear it in a different way, a better way. What was going on when you did this song? What was happening? Where were you at in your life when this was happening here?
It was 1975,
Really?
if that helps.
Okay.
Trumpet player Charles Bell,
Mm-hmm.
because I wasn't doing anything, just laying around the house. And he said, why don't you sit down and we'll write some songs? And I said, no. And then eventually we did it. He had half a verse, and I finished it off.
Wow.
I actually went with his train of thought, whatever. I usually ask, well, what are you thinking? Like you're asking me. He said, well, I was thinking blah, 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 blah. And I said, okay, so I wrote the second verse and
Beautiful
the
song.
harmonies. And,
Beautiful song.
well,
And it got
thank you.
released 2010. You did it. Family Man. You did it. Congrats.
Yeah.
Congrats.
60 years.
60 years in the
Do
making.
it.
So at least it got done.
Yeah.
I really hope you do change your mind and put out another album.
I probably will.
I know. That's
If
what
I
I'm
live
saying.
another 60.
I know how you go. There'll be something in the works. So speaking about work, we're going to talk about that. We're going to get into, so like I said, some nitty gritty. I don't know if Kenny, you want to start it off about what was really happening work-wise for you guys back then as musicians. Where were you playing? Where were the hot spots? What was going on really back in the days when we talk about the history of Montreal musicians and entertainment? Where did it really, really, really get hot? Where did it start? As far as venues and performances.
I was a high school student at Westmount High.
Mm-hmm.
At the year probably about 64, 65.
All right.
3 o'clock in the afternoon, as soon as high school got out, I would go to the Esquire Show Bar. And I would try to make contact with entertainers that were passing through Montreal.
So Esquire Show Bar, was that, for people that don't know, was that the spot where a lot of acts were playing? Was that a big platform back then?
At that particular time, yes.
Esquire Show Bar,
the,
all right.
the primary spot. And I would go there, I would watch rehearsals in the afternoon, run errands for people if they wanted a Coke or something, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I told you, Skipper and I were doing high schools kind of semi-professionally with our little bands around town. But there was the owner of the Esquire Show Bar, Norm Silver.
Norm Silver.
Such a gracious person. he used to see me in the lobby coming through in the afternoon. One day he said to me, he said, "Young man, come in here for a minute." Now, Norm Silver owned the Esquire Show Bar, but the artists that he would book in his club were booked by a gentleman named Roy Cooper. You might know
Oh,
Roy
I remember
Cooper.
Roy
Yeah.
very well, yeah.
A very nice, elderly Jewish man. A nice guy. But times were changing. Musical tastes were changing.
Right.
And at that particular moment, people like, I don't know, that were popular, the Drifters or whoever happened to be popular, in the black music idiom, was foreign to Roy Cooper. He didn't know who those people were. So I would be in the Esquire in the afternoon. Norm Silver would grab me. He'd say, "Young man, come in here for a minute." And he would show me his issue of Billboard magazine, and we'd look at the hit parade, the Hot 100. And
Right.
he'd say, "Who do you like on here?" I say,
Who's hot?
Who's hot?
Who's hot?
Yeah. And I would, them Isley brothers, them Isley brothers, you know?
Yeah. Isley brothers.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so then he would go to his man, Roy Cooper, and then make the formalities, you know. Actually, I should have been but I didn't know how to do it. So you know, I kind of formed a kind of friendship, loose friendship with Norm Silver. And things were going on in Montreal at the same time. We started doing these dance halls, and Donald K. Donald, who was just beginning to flourish in his own, he wasn't a promoter at the time. He was just a little booking agent that was doing high schools.
Oh, really?
Booking skipper, I said, yeah.
Wow.
So Norm Silver came, he said, one day, he said, "Man, I've been hearing you on the radio," because Donald K. Donald would be promoting his little high school shows this weekend.
Yeah.
So Norm Silver said to me, he said, "I've been hearing your name on the radio. How would you like to come in here for a week?" Man, how do you cut your teeth? Yeah, that's great. Show. I said, "Please, please, please."
You'd be honored.
So he gave me an initial 7 days in the Esquire Show Bar. I didn't know the act that I was booked. I came, I looked, and it was Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells.
Wow.
And at that time, we did the 7 days with them. And at the end of their engagement, Graham was on that gig with me too. And at the end of that engagement, Benny King was coming in behind him. Norm Silver said to me, "Would you guys like to be held over?" Am I lying or what? So, you know, and he extended his help to us. I mean, this was our,
There was a lot of support back then, I feel.
it was a lot of support. Richard Ring, he can tell you about Donnie Jordan's dad would come to us, and he was a bona fide trumpet player. Would come to us and give us little tips. "Young man, try to." Bill Kersey tell me less is more. Don't try so hard.
Right.
The guys would, you know, they were, yeah.
They were schooling.
It was schooling. Yes, it was.
Now, we mentioned Richard Ring. He's actually standing right here in the studio, so I'm so glad you're here. Miss Renee Lee's husband. So Richard,
Yes.
maybe just step to the mic, let them know who you are and what you've done and what you do.
Well,
Richard Ring, ladies and gentlemen.
thank you so much. I met my wife. She came up here from the United States, from New York, and I saw a wonderful lady, and I was called to play in the band.
Okay.
And that's how we met. I says, you know, this lady is not going back to New York.
That was the hot pants days.
And here we are, some 40-something.
So 40-something years later, you're still here,
Still here.
still smiling, still
Yeah.
together.
But talking about going to school, I remember working. They were working, I think, in Valleyfield, and I was working at a place called I think Belmont Hotel in Bahornwa, not far. I couldn't wait to finish my gig, to run down Valley, and the first thing the guy would say, "Okay, Richard, what do you want to play?" I says, "Well, you know this monk tune, oh yeah, okay, 1, 2, and we'd be off." And
Wow.
this is how I went to school, playing all those tunes.
And you play guitar, right?
I did.
All right.
You still do.
I still
Still playing. Still playing. So
those guys took me to school, I must say. for
wow.
sure.
Well, I'm just so glad you graced us today with your presence.
Thank
So
you
nice
so
to meet you
much.
and have you in the
Thank
studio. We'll say hello to the lady of the bunch,
Hi, Todd.
Miss Renee Lee.
Yeah.
So-
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here with all of these giants.
So this is great for me because this is the first time I'm actually really meeting you in the flesh, and This is great. I'm honored to meet you.
Aw.
I heard a lot about you. I actually had one of my guests last week, a young girl. She's 18 now. Her name is Tashana Callender.
Oh, yeah.
Great singer. And she said she sang with you when she was 12 years old at Cecil Newman School. And Cecil Newman School is actually the school I used to go to also. So it's just funny how life
Oh, yes.
connects and brings people together.
That's
So
right.
Renee Lee, if you don't know, singer, Juno Award winner, teacher at McGill University, also at Laval University. She is the Order of Canada, an Order of Canada recording artist still. Many albums, many songs. Tell us a little bit about your history and your, yeah, give her a hand. Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Renee Lee.
Well, I'm humbled by the presence of all of these people who have a history in a world that is not very readily known by many. I mean, there's a lot of hardships in this business, and a lot of learning, a lot of issues, and I was privileged when I first came to live in Montreal because I fell in love with Richard, and our lives took on a great adventure, and I met people like Charlie Biddles and Nelson Simons and Oliver Jones and people, you know, too numerous to mention, that took me under their wing. I started very early in my career. I must have been 14 years old when I was living in New York, and I was going to school in Harlem. And I did the Ted Mack original amateur hour, the Apollo amateur hour. I made it through without getting booed off the stage. So I had a feeling I had a life and a career in this business. And I started actually as a dancer, which seems to be synonymous with so many singers, especially in the jazz world. And I started dancing, and I went on tour with a girlfriend that had come up through high school with, and she brought me to work in Ontario. And I was a dancer, and because we didn't have enough time to fill the contractual agreement, I was the only one that was singing in the group, so I started singing like 15 minutes extra to fill out the time, and I enjoyed that. I liked the audience reaction. I was doing the top 40 stuff like Goody Goody and stuff like that. And then an agent heard me from Ontario and encouraged me to stay on and eke out a career. I became a drummer and a saxophone player. I played a little country and western bass.
Really?
So yeah. And later in my life, I became an actor. I've won numerous awards for my acting skills, and but singing has always been my mainstay, my forte, and I'm blessed to be able to continue doing this today, still as a great grandmother.
Wow,
Yeah.
look at that, great grandmother. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So what do you have any memories of performing in the city and at the big venues? You know, Kenny mentioned a couple of them before, Rockheads and Arnold Paradise. Did you have a chance to perform at any of these venues?
Not Rockheads, because it was just at the cusp of closing.
Okay.
I got here to sort of stay in around 72,
All right.
73, and I missed all of that era.
So where were you performing or getting your feet
Well, I
wet?
was doing more things like the Bonaventure Hotel and the Seaway and George's and I think it was the Bijou back then.
Yeah,
I
Bijou.
did work every club in Montreal at that period.
Playboy Club.
Yeah, even the Playboy Club. We're
Really?
in and out of there quite
The
often.
Better Class Club.
Yeah, that's So is there any highlights that come to mind, anything that sticks out from your journey and your experiences and everything you've done? Is there one or a couple of things that really hit home and stayed in your heart for all this time?
Well, yeah, just being here for one thing. You know, the family of musicians and the people that have made what music is today in this province is such a reward for everybody. And I think you know, the audiences that I've played for know my genre of music and know the styles of music that these wonderful musicians here do. And it's a family, really. It's oriented to everybody knows each other, and it's a community that support one another.
Right.
And you know,
And that's important.
That's so
Yeah, it's
important.
important.
Yeah, we need each other.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know?
The contributions of the unheralded musicians that we work with, great talents, that when you hear the name Renee Lee or Kenny Hamilton or Skipper Dean, we're the ones that take the bows, but you don't really get to know the wonderful people that support what we do and build what we do and make us shine. The Richard Rings, the Graham Chamberses. I mean, these are people that without them, we would look like amateurs.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because you're right.
That's
They
right.
make us shine. Yes, they do.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Kenny, can you maybe give us a bit of the lowdown about the venues and about the hot spots and
I'm going to tell you this, that they called Montreal the Paris of North America at that time, and it was not easy thing to say.
the Paris of North
Paris
America?
of North America. I can tell you that there was a cabaret in every neighborhood in this town.
Yeah.
A cabaret. I'm not talking about no bars.
Yeah.
Full-scale cabaret, 3 acts on a show. You know what I'm saying? If you picked up the Montreal Gazette or the Montreal Star at that time, they had 2 or 3 pages of entertainment.
Wow, full.
Full.
Well, I was actually watching the Burgundy Jazz documentary, and I spoke about that earlier, and they mentioned that. They said every club, every cabaret, every spot was packed on a Monday, whether it was a Tuesday, a Wednesday, a Thursday. It didn't matter.
It didn't matter.
The talent, the business was booming.
And
Wow.
people were coming and going from outside the province as
Yeah,
well.
Yeah, that's right,
You know,
that's right.
we were, rubbing shoulders with the likes of Sammy Davis Jr. and and it was a wide open market for music and entertainment.
Wow.
And you could literally work in a different location 52 weeks a year.
That's right.
And never repeat the same venue.
Yes.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Graham, do you have any mentions that you want to talk about? Anything that you want to say regarding back then and the venues that you played in?
I would just like to say that I'm honored. I played on, I think, Renee's 45. What was that song
Oh
called?
boy. Oh boy. Let them know. Let them know.
Rainy something?
I don't remember.
Neither do I.
It's okay.
But I know, but I loved it.
Yeah.
That was my step into glory, shall we say.
But you also played alongside Kenny at the Esquire, didn't you?
Yeah, we did the thing with Patti LaBelle and Benny King the week after. I think I sprained my ankle though.
Yes.
I missed half of the week. I was walking.
But see, getting back to that,
Yeah.
I want to make it clear to you, through the experience of working with Miss LaBelle and her girls, which I didn't get to know very well because they had a chaperone and they were more or less secluded. But they came up here with a trio of musicians that I got to be very friendly with. And those guys eventually formed the nucleus of the MSSB Orchestra in Philadelphia that did everything on everybody from Billy Paul to Harold Melvin and the Balloon. Well, I had been sitting in the Esquire show bar one day with their guitar player Norman Harris, and we were talking. He said, Kenny, you know a song, and he just gave me a song, I forget what the name is, Boogaloo Down Broadway was the name of the song. I said, yeah. He said, man, we wrote that. I said, yeah. He said, why don't you come to Philly, man, we'll hook you up. But I didn't have the confidence.
Are you serious, Kenny?
I didn't have the confidence.
You weren't ready yet?
No, I didn't feel
That
that
seemed to be
out.
the human cry though here.
Wow.
It is. Yeah. It happened to all of us.
So how did you get your confidence? What happened? What built you up to say, yeah, I'm ready to do this?
I don't know. I really don't know, but there was another issue that I wanted. Skipper in the room.
Yeah.
Skipper's right behind you.
Skipper, did you live next door to Lita Doris
Yes.
on St. Antoine Street? Anyway, I wanted to bring up the name Lita Doris, another lady in Montreal who moved in circles. I got a call from Lita Doris one day, and she said, Kenny. I said, yes. She said, how would you like to meet Barry Gordy? I said, Barry Gordy? She said, yes. I said, well, of course. She said, well, come down to the hotel right now. So I went down. I'll flesh this story out for you. There was another nightclub on St. Lawrence Street called the Grand National in the 60s that had a band there that was formerly a well-known band, and they were up there playing in the Grand National. Somebody came through Montreal with a girl on a date, undercover, met the band, and that's how they gelled. Then it was like, yeah, I'm Barry Gordy and I'm going to record you guys, which he did.
Mhm.
But while he was in town undercover with his friend, he wanted to know all about Montreal. He wanted to know where to go, how to get along with people, don't get in no trouble. And he knew Lita Doris, and Lita Doris knew me. And Lita Doris called me up and said, how would you like to meet Barry Gordy? Well, here I am, Kenny Hamilton, sitting in a hotel room telling Barry Gordy all about Montreal. I'm going to tell y'all something. I never said I was a singer.
Really?
I never told him I was a singer. I didn't hit on him, right? Yeah, you know, so I mean, I'll go for the rest of my life thinking I'm the only one in this room that had to sit down in a one-on-one with Barry Gordy. Yes.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
Truly amazing. So, Renee,
Yes.
you brought a little something special for me.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So this is an album, Renee Lee, with special guest David Murray. It's called Seasons of Love.
Right.
All right. So we're gonna play a song off this album here,
Okay.
and I think you want them to hear "Let the Flowers Grow."
Yeah.
The first
it's
song?
one of my favorites.
Okay.
But yeah.
What inspired that song?
Oh, it's because I have 3 sons and two stepsons that are very important in my life. The men children in my life are very important. They carry a great deal of responsibility for our culture, and it's an important song. It was back then, and it still is. It's about teaching your children how to feel.
Beautiful. And that's what's important.
Yes,
These kids need to
feel.
and they gotta feel the love. So
That's right.
it's amazing.
One of her sons is a champion athlete in
Really?
Canada,
Daryl
maybe
Hannigan.
worldwide. A
Yes.
champion athlete.
Taekwondo.
Yes,
Taekwondo. Look at that.
Daryl
Daryl
Hannigan was the
Hannigan,
yeah.
heavyweight champ.
Wow. that
He's
was-
another first, I believe, in Quebec. Is he a
That's
black
right.
first in
Yes,
Quebec?
he's the first. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So what we're gonna do? We're just gonna drop a couple of commercials, pay some bills real quick, and then we're gonna come back with Renee
Let-
Lee. You can say, go ahead.
Let the flowers grow.
Let the flowers grow, y'all. 100.1 FM. You're tuning to Smitty in the City every Saturday, 4 to 7 p.m. Thanks to our special guests today, Renee Lee, Graham Chambers, Skipper Dean, Kenny Hamilton, Richard Ring, Donnie Jordan, and Phil Cole. We'll be right back, y'all.
Nancy?
Some of you guys can sit. It's not really a photo, it's just, it's in a film.
Everybody sits down but me.
Yeah.
And someday he'll grow. Have my arms.
That's right.
Hear that guitar, Todd?
We are back on Smitty in the City every Saturday, 4 to 7. So we're sitting here with Graham Chambers and his sister, who is also my lovely mother, Brenda Chambers. You just listened to Renee Lee's song, Old Folks. And yeah, we're going to talk to Brenda right now. Mom, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. How you doing, Todd?
I'm doing
Smitty
good.
City.
It's good to have you here with everybody, with the bunch.
Thank you so much
You're
for having
the reason I'm here, so it's a pleasure and an honor to speak to you like this.
me. Thank you, son.
So, Mom, we're talking about black history, well, the history of black musicians and entertainment in the city.
Yes.
You were here for pretty much most of the show, so you know where we're at. But you want to go somewhere else, I think. You have a couple of things you want to talk about, is that right?
First, I'd like to talk about representing black community at the NDG on Hampton.
Okay.
And they are having their 16th annual Black History Variety Show, which will be held next Friday, February the 28th, at the NDG on Hampton.
All right.
Linda Bernier is the Director of Community Initiatives there, and she asked me to be involved as a volunteer. It's been a pleasure for me to be involved for the last 3 years. What they have is a lovely talent show with different kinds of music, and it is local talent with the young children. So the age group goes from maybe 8 years old up to 15, 16, 18. It just goes and goes. And it's always been a success. So it's next week, 4335 Hampton Avenue in NDG. And it starts, the doors open at 6:30. The show is from 7 to 10 p.m. The admission is fantastic. It's $5 for adults and $2 for children. and there will be some little snacks served.
All right, and that's next Friday, right? The 28th?
Next Friday, the 28th of February.
All right, very
So we're
good.
hoping people come and support it. Linda Bernier has been doing a very, very good job trying to get this going for the past few years.
Definitely.
And I am now on a committee, and we have meetings about it, and it's going to be a very positive thing going forward. It's not always going to be music and dance, it's also going to be art, etc. So I hope everyone could try and come out and support the cause.
All right. Anything else you gotta talk about?
I think it's your birthday on the same day.
It's my birthday next week, that's right.
Even though you're a leap year
Yeah.
baby, we will celebrate the same evening.
Yeah, we're on the 29th. No 29th, we gotta wait till 2016 now, but we're still gonna celebrate. So next Friday is going down to the YMCA, and then you can catch me at the Caribbean Paradise after that for the after party, going down next Friday.
That's right, and I've also, for the Caribbean Paradise, I've been doing some functions there.
Yeah?
And just to put a subliminal thing in everyone's mind, that there will be a Mother's Day dance there. I haven't put it all together yet, but Todd, you and I will be working on that,
That's right.
as well as with Skipper Dean and his lovely wife Penny.
That's right.
And it's going to be a wonderful evening, so we will be back on the air talking about that as we get closer to May and Mother's Day.
Mother's Day, for the mothers, y'all. I also got a shout out, speaking of Black history and musicians, late great, Oscar Peterson. There's something going down today at the Oscar Peterson Hall. That's tonight. Doors open at 6 o'clock. The show starts at 7. Put on by the Carrefour Jeunesse and Côte d'Ivoire. It's the Money Youth Clown Showcase. There's about 30 performers tonight. A few teens that I work with on a daily basis are actually performing tonight. So shouts out to Alan Julius, aka AAA, to Shauna Callender and Nahelia Brown. They'll be up there doing their thing with many more acts as well. So that's going down tonight at Oscar Peterson Hall, 7 o'clock. And we also have a great event by my personal friend, Miss Carol Boyce, who is the secretary at LCCHS High School. I was honored to get the phone call to get some youth talent for her event, which is going down March 8th. Saturday, March 8th, at the Royal Canadian Legion, 3015 Henri Dunant Street, so D-U-N-A-N-T, in Lachine, near 32nd Avenue. That's $15 in advance, $20 at the door. The doors open at 6 p.m. It'll go till 1 a.m. It's a spaghetti dinner and fundraiser for FACES, which is a non-profit organization, and FACES stands for Foster a Child to Excel in Society. Big cause, y'all. Big cause, and it's going to be a great evening. So again, FACES, Foster a Child to Excel in Society. You can reach them and get more information at fosterachildtoexcel.com. Donations are accepted on the website, and we'll see you hopefully March 8th for that event as well. So,
That sounds fantastic.
yeah, that sounds real good. That sounds real good. So we're back into a little bit of discussion here. We got Graham Chambers. Graham also put out an album recently. So Graham, talk to us about that accomplishment, because I'm very proud of you as your nephew.
I am a big fan of my big brother.
So he put out G.L. Chambers Presents These Blues.
All right.
Tell us about the blues, brother.
Well, I seem to have stumbled into the blues, what would you call the blues society in Montreal, by doing some gigs with other blues artists and singers, and ended up wanting to record my CD, which is this one, and I named it These Blues,
Okay.
after a song that I liked from another blues band. And that's about it.
So you put this out exactly what, it was 2011?
2009.
2009?
Yes.
Wow, time flies.
Yeah.
Time flies. And I know you've been busy ever since then.
Yeah, we're starting to work on the second one in March,
Okay.
so next month.
Very good. Any collaborations you want to mention now, or is that
Well,
more
just
surprise?
my good friend and a great pianist, Lou Simon, helped me with this one, recorded everything, played piano on it, and we'll do the same this time.
Very good, hands out there.
And nephew, I would also like to add, I was just thinking while I was
Yes.
listening to this song.
Yeah.
When Kenny was talking about the Esquire Show Bar, where I went quite often, Brenda went before me and she's younger. But just to mention that your grandfather, James Emmanuel Chambers,
Right.
worked at the Esquire Show Bar during all of this time.
Oh, did he?
He was a waiter and a doorman there, and Brenda went earlier than me, and I I went and listened to all kinds of bands. I saw Buddy Rich Big Band there. I saw George Duke, Sheila E.
Tell him.
Junior Walker.
Tell him.
All
Chuck
kinds.
Jackson,
Who?
Chuck Jackson,
Chuck Jackson.
Tommy Hunt.
The Parliament Funkadelic.
Wow.
The original Parliament Funkadelic. Who else was there?
Skinny
Ruby
legs
and
and all.
Romantics.
Skinny Legs and all. There's a Joe
Joe
Tex.
I
Joe
won,
Wow.
I won
yeah.
the skinny legs and all.
Oh, did you? You won that?
I had
She
some
won the
skinny
contest,
legs.
Wow. See, you guys you lived right through it.
Yeah.
Lived right through it.
Right through it. So what do you think changed? What do you think happened? Where did it go? What happened? It was so hot.
You know what I think it is, and you know, well, talking about this, what I think it is when we were young, myself and Brenda, we used to go to dances, and we'd go to a dance, and before I was playing drums, I would see Skipper Dean and his band playing at the dance, and his brother's band,
Okay.
and Kenny Hamilton. There was dance halls all over the city, in church basements and places like that. And it was a place for young people to go and dance. No alcohol, you know, where the chips, soft drinks and stuff, but with a live band, not a DJ, but a live band. And that's where you sort of get the hunger to play an instrument and you know, get into music. And we went to a place called the 217, which was on Laurier between Park Avenue and Saint Laurent. We used to go there every weekend, and the owner of the club used to go and get bands that were playing in the city, in the bars where there was alcohol, and come to play for the kids.
Wow.
So we would see the Isley Brothers with Jimi Hendrix on guitar,
Oh my
bands like that playing, and we're like 13, 14 years old.
Come on, Greg.
Yeah, no, seriously. And the dance hall was open like Friday night, and then on Sundays he'd bring the bands. There would be we'd be there from 1 in the afternoon till 11 at night, and he'd bring the band in to play a matinee in the afternoon for the kids.
Yeah.
And I think that connection is gone. You
Yeah,
know,
I agree.
You know,
I
even I
agree.
go downtown and I see young people that have nowhere to go. They're too young to get into a bar, so they're drinking like down Crescent Street, Bishop, Drum, you know, all those streets, and so they're drinking beer that they buy at a dépanneur, but they can't go into a bar because they're too young, so they have nowhere to go.
So that's what happened.
Yeah, and
The connection was.
that connection is gone, you know, and it's a shame, but.
Do you think we can get it back? Because I think we can. I talk about this a lot with my mother, and
Oh yeah.
yeah, we go back and forth with it, and there's mixed emotions.
Well, you could do something like that.
But do you think in general it can come back? Because I really believe it can. But
Yeah.
The problem what I see right now is the venues. There's not as many venues
Yeah. So you have
right
to,
now that have can accommodate live entertainment.
right.
And the musicians, sometimes, you know, there's different musicians and another one comes in and maybe the money, they're getting less money, so than the band before. It's just deteriorating the live entertainment because of the venues, especially because of the venues. Now it's all house music, DJs, that's what's happening, you know. But yes, I believe it could come back
Right.
in a different way.
Yeah.
And
You gotta innovate it. You gotta.
That's
yeah,
right,
you gotta
that's
innovate.
right.
So that's what we're here to do. Smitty City live entertainment. Skip
I
the
see
D.
Skipper just sat in the chair.
Skipper, talk to us, brother. What's happening? Talk to us.
Graham, GL Chambers.
GL is gone.
Did a switch, y'all.
The thing
Okay.
is, back then, the radio DJs would come to the dances and DJ.
Okay. You're doing fine.
So that meant we'd have our exposure, all the kids from all the schools, and we're talking 500 kids minimum
Exactly.
in the 217, Point St. Charles Boys and Girls Club,
COC.
CEOC,
Yeah.
and that was 3 floors.
Yeah.
So you had your lounge on the bottom, ballroom at the top, top 40 on the 3rd floor, and on the 2nd they had the telephones on the tables. You could call the table if you saw a girl you liked.
Oh, you called the table?
Oh, yeah, call, yeah.
Wow.
Send a drink over and then call it. And so that was it. The radio people were involved. We were involved, and we, like with Oliver Jones and Oscar Peterson, we had access to all of them on the street.
That's right.
Everybody had access to all the musicians.
We're all connected.
Yeah.
We're all connected.
And it wasn't just black musicians, because most of the bands were white.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And occasionally, I had two black people, me and him, and the rest were either French, Italian, Jewish,
Italian.
and they just loved soul.
Very diverse, very
And
diverse.
the dance halls would be filled with people from all over, from Hampstead, Mount Royal,
Montreal,
Burgundy, Montreal East,
North.
Copenhagen, everybody was in.
LaSalle, South Shore. So, and no fights,
Nothing.
no fights.
Just
Just the
enjoy
dance
the
and
moment.
Everybody
Just come
danced.
and
You saw a
dance.
girl over there, you went and you asked her to dance, she danced.
And I bet you didn't see guys standing on the wall. They actually danced, right?
They were
Well, no, some
dancing.
guys.
So,
A couple.
and,
Not
Yeah, I
like, not
guess.
like now.
Not like
no.
today.
Not
Not like
No.
today.
but we also had dance. We also had dances like something like the Harlem Shuffle, the song the Harlem Shuffle,
Line dancing.
which is like line. We do it in lines. We do it in big lines. And what's that dance you do with your friends?
The electric
Electric
slide.
slide,
Yeah,
baby.
yeah, those kind of things.
For
where
us,
we
that
do
was the
dances.
We
Madison.
had the hustle.
Madison.
Oh, that was
Madison.
Madison. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. There you go.
And
Some
then
more
we had the camel walk,
Yeah.
Yeah,
where it'd be a line going this way, and one line going one way and the other way. And we walk like a camel.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it was. But it looked good when you had 500 people doing
Of
it.
course.
Yeah.
Did you hear that, y'all? He said 500 people doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 500 people doing the same dance,
Yeah.
the
Doing the
same
cool
step,
jerk.
on time. What's that, Mom? The cool jerk? All right,
Yeah,
all
the
right, all
monkey,
right.
the mashed
The
potatoes.
monkey, the mashed
The
potato.
jerk, the twist, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
You know.
Twist, yeah.
Wow,
So
amazing.
we came up doing the dances that our parents did, cha-cha, tango, all that
Yeah.
stuff, and then we got our own stuff, the dirty dog.
Yeah. Our mother,
dog.
our grand, and my mother, she taught us how to rock and roll at a very early age. We were
There you
doing
go.
rock and roll,
Yeah.
and they don't do it no more.
Where we grew up in Copenhagen, myself and Brenda, it was most of our friends were Jewish. There wasn't a lot of black people there. And when James Brown came out with his hit, Papa's Got a Brand New Bag, I'd be driving in a car with my Jewish friends, and we were doing it all over Copenhagen. As soon as the song came on, we stopped the car, open the doors, get out, dance around the car.
Come on.
Imitating James Brown. When the song was over, we jumped back in the car and
Take off.
go where we were going.
Wow.
It was
See
like
that?
Doing the chicken
and the
scratch.
Jewish
Chicken
guys.
scratch,
And some of the best dancers at these dances were Jewish guys. Marty Wiseman.
Yeah.
Wow, wow.
Bobby the Mock. Bobby DeMaio was his name.
Okay.
And Oscar Sanchez was. You remember Oscar?
Yeah,
He was of Spanish descent.
Man.
Johnny Mascola, all
Johnny
these guys
Mascola,
were
oh,
there.
wow, all
Yeah,
kinds.
yeah.
And we had free background singers,
Yeah.
free dancers.
Yeah, yeah.
Just a community of just musicians and artists and performers.
And lots of fun.
Yeah,
Honest,
lots of fun.
honest
Yeah.
fun. Good fun.
Like GL Chambers said, let the good times roll.
That's
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
that's
that's
right.
right.
We'll get it back.
Get
It'll
it
be
back. We'll get it back. We're getting it
Back.
this year. This year. We just
Yeah,
gotta do.
you're doing
You're
some
doing your
things,
thing.
Todd.
Thank you.
and,
Thank you.
We'll
Thank
do
you.
something like that. Get the young people involved with
Yeah.
mixed with the older people, and
Where's the gap? Like me and Skipper did. Skipper and I did that on
Yeah.
Soulful. We
Yeah,
put on a
that's
song
right.
together called Soulful.
yeah, there you
And
go.
it did really well.
Oh,
So.
and then let's not forget that on this next album I'm doing, you're going to be on it also with David's song.
Yeah, that's
Where
right.
was
Dave
it?
Lockhart.
Dave Lockhart,
Yeah.
that's right. I'm doing one of
Thank
his
God,
songs.
right?
Thank God.
Thank God, yeah, that's right. That was my first ever recorded song. Thank God.
Yeah.
And the good thing, Todd, is because you grew up in the music
Yeah,
that belonged to us,
that's right.
right?
That's right.
So
I
you
grew up
know the
watching these
music,
guys.
yeah, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
why you still have all of our support.
That's right. Thank you.
We may not always show up.
But I know the love
But
is
we
there.
got
The support's
you.
there.
We
And
got
we're
you.
here, Montreal. We're here. We ain't going nowhere.
That's
So,
right.
Mom, Brenda, you had something else to say, right? You want to just
Well,
recap
I
a
just
little
want to
bit?
do a little recap for the 16th annual Black History Variety Show
Mhm.
being held at the NDG YMCA.
Mhm.
I believe I said the address before, 4335 Hampton Avenue. And I would just to say again, like to say that the local youth that are in the field of arts and culture and the professional performers involved they actually donate their time for this
right.
successful event.
That's right.
You understand? And it's a fundraiser for the Why Strong Kids campaign.
There you go.
So it's very, very important because the funds support the Teen Zone program and their summer day camp.
There you go.
And kids are our future. So we appreciate anybody that can come and see the show and have a wonderful evening.
That's right.
NDG YMCA, 4335 Hampton Avenue.
Thank you. And the kids are
February 28th.
February 28th. And the kids are the future. And I just want to commend one of my close friends and a good guy in the community. I call him Mr. Community, Denver Greed, aka Berkey. He has his foundation going on, Montreal Community Cares Foundation. We need you guys to go on the site, montrealcommunitycares.com. It is nomination time. The awards gala is coming up. For those who don't know what that is, Mr. Reed puts on an event every year. This will be the 4th one, where he commends and gives awards and recognition to our unsung heroes, the people that don't get the recognition they deserve, the people that are behind the scenes making big things happen. So please go on the site, montrealcommunitycares.com, nominate someone you know or an organization. Please do that. The gala is approaching soon. We need the nominations first. So Montreal Community Cares Foundation, big up to you, Berkey. You're doing big things in the city. Look out for his Red Rush basketball program, mentoring programs. Just check the site, everything's there. Big up, Berkey.
You left me for another guy, and like I told you, all he did was make you cry. So tell Dad, come on and tell Dad, and I'll make it